it's good to be with you again today. We're going to do blue epoxy sculpt on a cuff. And I'm going to show you how to make some nice texture in the cuff without embellishing it too much. We want to let the texture kind of stand on its own. And I'll show you here in a minute. Here's my mixed up blue epoxy sculpt. It's resting. You know, remember, we have to mix the epoxy sculpt and then let it rest for a little bit before we do much with it. So it's resting, and it's just about good to go. But anyway, I'll show you what I did yesterday so you can see what is she talking about. We're going to make, I hope that this picks it up. We're going to make cuffs that we're going to use this channel cuff here from the website. We have lots of them. And we used this before to make a mosaic cuff. And instead this time we're just going to fill it with the epoxy sculpt, and then we're going to go back and we're going to put texture in it and do perfect pearls. And then maybe we'll put a few little embellishments, not too many. This one I just left plain because I wanted you to see how it was. I see I got a little indent in there I got to fix, but I can fix that. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of cool, you know. It just goes on, you just wear it and like this. You know, maybe you have some colored bangles or some charm bracelet stuff that you want something a little bit funky but colored with it, you could put that on. And then I made a skinny cuff too. Now, I'm not sure these are still in stock, but I have more coming. But this is same thing, only it's skinny. And I think it looks kind of good put together with this, you know, can wear them together. So this one, I put a little bit of embellishment in it, but you can do it on a skinny cuff too. Basically, it's about staying between the lines, which sometimes can be hard, but with these channel cuffs, it really isn't so hard. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to fill this for you, kind of review the process. We've covered a lot of forms with Epoxy Sculpt in my videos. I think this is the 9th video on Epoxy Sculpt so far. So we've covered a lot of things, but you know, you can always repeat because maybe you didn't see that video, or maybe you forgot about it, you know, you didn't get a chance to try it yet. So anyway, this is the Epoxy Sculpt, and as you know, it's the part A and B. This is the hardener, the B. This is the part A. This is the color. You mix it up 50-50, and then you just, you know, blend it together like this. A lot like how Cerulean was, and then you let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes. Then you start working with it. You got about an hour to work with it if you need it on the softer side. If you're making things that need to be a little tougher, like beads and stuff, you might have 2 hours. But basically, figure you have an hour. So anyway, let's get moving. So I'm just going to take a small piece. In fact, this is probably too much, but I'll know in a second. And I'm going to just put it toward the back here and just kind of mush it out with my fingers. Now, don't worry if it goes over the side a little bit, because we can correct that. You have time to correct that all the way up until it starts to cure. Then you don't have time anymore, and then it's going to stay like it is. So you'll want to get it all cleaned up before it starts curing, but we're nowhere near that yet. So I'm just going to get pushed out to the edges. If it goes over a little bit more, I'm not going to worry. So I'm just going to keep moving it, because you have to have a little bit of depth in it, but you don't need too much. I love this blue. I absolutely love this blue. It's so vibrant. I made, you might remember the video that had the big Y-style mosaic centerpiece. I used blue for that, and it was just groovy. Loved it. I just kind of take my fingernail and just kind of keep, you know, mushing it back from the side. And then when I get to the place where it starts thinning out a little bit too much, because you have to have a little bit of depth, so that if you want to push something down into it, has something to grab onto. And then you need to make sure you got the nice end on it, and make sure too that you don't get any sticking on the inside here. Oops, I need to show it there. Don't get any stuck on the inside here, because if you miss it and don't get it off where it cures, it may not come off. You won't like that. So it's time to start with it a little bit. You can see how nice and neat that's going on. I think this blue one's going to look a lot better. I got this new color of Epoxy Sculpt yesterday, and they call it orange, but really, truth be told, it's more like a terracotta. So I have this one, this much pulled up. I think it's a little too much.
And then you had the green one, right?
Yeah, we got green too. We got new orange and green this time. And of course, these are, you know, all the colors in Epoxy Sculpt are mixable. So if I put green with this, I mean, if I had put yellow, because we carry yellow, with this I'd have a form of green. If I put yellow with the green, I'd have a lighter yellow-green color. If I put red with white, I'd have pink. Okay. If I put blue and red together with this, I'd have purple, which is Javi's favorite color. So I imagine she'll be trying that at some point. And this is a lot of things. You can mix it really good. And you can also mix it with paints. You can take the super white or the natural white and mix it with paints. And you get a nice color too. It's a little bit resistant to paint. It'll take it, but you might have to do several attempts, and it's always going to kind of stay a pastel. I haven't really got to the place where I figured out how to make it be more intense, but I will get there. I will figure it out. But so far I've been using like Inca Gold paint, Lumiere paint, sometimes the mica powders, mixing down into it. It will not interfere with its being able to set up. There's some, products like this that you have to mix. You got to be really careful mixing other things into them, because they just don't complement each other, and then you'll have an issue. But with this stuff, you're pretty good with that kind of paint and things like that. And then too, you're really good with perfect pearls because they are also a form of resin. I don't know if you knew that. I find that fascinating because they're powder. They're mica powder and resin, powdered resin mixed together. And that's why when you apply them to this stuff, when it's still a little bit tacky, you don't need to. We have workmen here today, so we're hoping that you don't hear too much of it.
And we're sorry that you hear
Yeah,
that.
we're sorry. We just couldn't be helped. They're doing plumbing stuff, so it kind of had to happen. They're doing their best. They're doing their best. We're doing our video, but we're doing our video a little bit earlier than usual, guys. It will schedule and it'll come out at the normal time, but we're actually making it a day early and scheduling it because tomorrow starts the workshop. So I will be on and I will be teaching, but I'll be with my workshop class. So we want to be sure that everybody else had something to work on too. So we went ahead and we planned to do this here. So you can see there's a little bit of depth as you go around. If you can see on the edge, this is in fact maybe a little bit deeper than it needs to be. But you want to kind of try and get it an equal depth as it goes around. Okay guys, so we had to quit momentarily because they just had to drill and it was just too loud. So I'm sorry about that, but the show goes on. I don't quit, so I just work with it. Anyway, so while we were waiting, I went ahead and I finished covering this because I already showed you the technique basically. In fact, this is not the first time I've showed it to you. If you want to refer to some other things, there are other videos on this too. But anyway, I wanted to get it completely filled. And I want to make sure that it's not too high on the end, so I'm just kind of slicking it down and getting it off this part here. I don't want any on here. The only time would be is if I was going to go inside and cover it, but I'm not. So I want it just to be very, very flush and clean, and I don't want anything drying there because it'll just not look good. Okay, so it looks pretty good now. So now, as you can see, I've pretty much got it all within the lines. A few little places it's out, and that's going to happen because the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put the texture on. Okay, and once we do that, we have to apply some pressure, so it's going to happen. So anyway, I have this little texture mat. I don't even remember where I got it. I don't have this one at the site, but I have other ones. But this is how this works. I take this little piece, and some texture mats are bigger than this, but I find this is the perfect piece for doing this kind of thing. And there's a little bit of dirt down in here, but it's close enough to this color, so I'm not worrying about it right now.
Are you going to put the mica powders first? Or the perfect pearls first?
You know what? I wasn't, but I think maybe I should. Yeah, thanks, Javi, for the prompt. I wasn't. You can actually go ahead, but it might be better to put perfect pearls first. So first I've chosen this one, which is called Poppy. Thanks, Javi. So much going on here today.
Color.
But I think we'll still have a good session today. You guys and us. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, like I did before, this is really pretty. It's like a coral pink. I'm going to take, and I'm going to just lightly dust this. And it will go and be part of the color, you know, of the cuff now. Beautiful. I like pink and blue, especially with a dark blue. Yeah, I could have probably rolled it on there and not had any problem, but you know what? I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad Javi stopped me, because it's better if you don't do that. What you can do with those, if you don't want to have mica powders down, and I'm using Perfect Pearls, of course, which has resin in it, you can lightly dust cornstarch over that. But I'm not worried about the other color and stuff being in there, because I'm going to have a whole bunch of colors in this, and so even if some of that came off on here, which it probably won't even do that, is it's just not going to matter. But yeah, it's good if you could get stuff cleaned up a little better than I did with that one. So, okay, so I've got this on here. And I'm just going to put my base coat. I don't want to cover the whole thing quite, but enough so that I can just get it not to stick too much. And then once I get my texture on, and then you want to hold it like this, like I have it between my fingers here to hold it, because if you touch on this now, after you start doing this, you'll get it on your fingers, and you will also, once we put texture on it, you will lose some of your texture. And you'll have to redo it, which, good news, you can, but you can only do it so many times, and it starts to look like a muddy mess. So just keep that in mind when you're doing texture. You can only go back over it so many times. So anyways, I'm going to roll it from this end, because I like this end better. And I'm going to go just like this. I'm going to put the edge of my cuff on there, okay? And I'm just going to roll it across. Of course, I didn't get it all, but I can show you. Coolness. Can you see that? Can you see that texture? Okay, I'm going to do the other end. And I'll have a little overlap, but you won't see it. See, I just pressed on that, so now I have to redo that. But anyway, you can see I pretty much got it going all the way around. So I will look for places where I didn't get as much, and I'll do it again. But I don't want to do this a whole lot, because if I do it a whole lot, my texture won't show up the way I want to. And you can press it in from the sides this way, you know, any place where you can see that it didn't take. Just kind of have to be careful. I'm hurrying a little bit. I wish I was going a little bit slower. But anyway, so now I've got that on there. Okay, so now it's time for me to put in my next colors. Okay, so the next one I thought I would do, I don't know how this is going to look, but I'm going to try a little bit of it and just lightly try it. Okay, so I'm going to try put, ooh, don't do that. I can get that back. I can get that back. I'll just take it from the edge so I don't contaminate it. I just thought maybe a little bit of the lighter blue. You know what I'm going to do with that? I have a big wad of this stuff left, and I'm going to mix that into this when I'm done.
There you go.
Yeah. So now, just take a little tiny bit and see how that goes. Yeah, it makes a nice sheen. And you want to go light because you don't want to take any of your detail away. Just kind of catch the top detail with it a little bit. Oops, a little bit. That's okay. We'll deal with
Sorry.
that. We'll deal with that. That's
Would that
okay. It
come off
happens.
with-
That's why you don't want a whole lot down there.
Yeah.
No, but you're going to have to compensate for it, which, you know, sometimes when I make mistakes, which is frequently, and you guys get to see it, I don't hide anything. I'm, like they say, real. And so then you get to see how to correct it. So I have a dry brush here, and I'm just kind of, you know, mushing it out a little bit, trying to get the excess out of there. So my design's not obscured. Okay, and then I'm going to do this again a little bit so I can get a little bit more. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I like that. And you want to clean this up later, but I have a Teflon pad here, and then I have a silicone one underneath that, and that'll come right off with a baby wipe. And baby wipes are something you want to keep on hand when you're doing this kind of stuff. Okay? Okay, so this is getting really kind of interesting, I think.
Like an iridescent kind.
It's very iridescent, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm going to get a clean brush. Well, this one's okay. And I'm going to try a little bit of gold over top of this. Let's see if I can manage not to do the same thing. So I thought I'd use the brush and control it a little bit, but oh well. Probably be better to take, you know those little tiny spoons you get like in a coffee shop? I have some around down here from when we did our resin class.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good thing to have for perfect pearls. I'll get some for another video. Okay, very lightly. And you know what? I've lost a little of my texture back here, so I'll just reapply a little bit. Very lightly over the tops. Just kind of in spots, because like Javi said, we were going like for kind of an iridescent look. So we don't want to get, this is the accent color. I like to work in threes with perfect pearls most of the time. One for a base, one for kind of a medium layer, and then one for an accent. And there would be times you would not do that, but most of the stuff I do, it works really good.
Can you bring it up a little?
I'm sorry. Thank you, hubby. She's my director. Okay. Alrighty. So then I'll just take and I'll hit it a little bit more here because we lost a little bit of our stuff. Here we did too. Okay. That's good. Now, I have some little golden accents I think I'm going to apply, but first before I do that, I'm going to take it off the edges. Just got to get this clean because it won't look nice. At least not to my eye. It won't. That's why it's a little bit of you know, something you kind of have to work with to get a feel for is like how to get enough in here without getting too much. One way that would be probably good is if you took your little balls of Epoxy Sculpt that you were going to use to do this and measured them on a scale. Someone gave me that tip and it was an excellent tip. So then you know how much you're using. I'm going to take a toothpick and get this off here. And then that way you could even write it down, then you know if you did this again, you know exactly how to approach it the next time. See, I touched that and I wrecked a little bit of my... This is the fussy part actually, I think. Trying to get it so it all looks good. I think that's about as good as it's going to be except for this little piece here. Okay, now, so that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I wish I had a little bit more texture. Let's see if I can get a little bit more. Okay. Now I'm going to take these. You know what? I'm going to get rid of these gloves now because they're getting in my way. My hands look so bad because I was using Epoxy Sculpt last night. I didn't get it all off. Getting ready for my class. I'm going to put this right about in the middle. I like to use the back of my pointer tool to just kind of tamp it down in. See, I still got some back here too I got to clean up. You see that? I'll get that with a baby wipe when I'm done. I don't think I have to demonstrate that. You guys catch my drift, I'm sure. But you hear that sticky sound? That's because the back part is sticking. Now I'm eyeballing this. And I will tell you, you better have a pretty good eyeball because if you put these in the wrong place, you take them out, you may have to redo all your texture because it's going to make a pretty deep mark. You won't like that. Trust me on that. Yeah. I think I have a pretty good eyeball, but sometimes I surprise myself at how bad it is too. This needs to go a little bit. And then, you know, when this is done, what you could do is if you have a little bit of 1.5 millimeter or 2 millimeter pearls, that's what will fit in here. If you want to, you'll have to wait till it sets up and you'll probably have to glue them in because you won't be able to get this to come up through the hole enough to grab it. So you'll have to get a little bit of E6000 and pop those in. Or a little tiny chaton would be good. I don't even think it would hold a little chaton though. I just don't think that you'll get enough coming up through to make it work. So that's my thought. That's my story and I'm sticking to it, okay? So I'm looking, so I got that one a little bit high. You know what too, you don't have to worry if you get it like all perfect because this is handmade for crying out loud, right? You need to expect some things are going to be a little bit unique because they're not made in machine. See, that's a good example. This is what happens. So now I'll have to mush that out. A little bit more on there and then put it in the right place and it won't show. Okay, a little bit more on there. It'll be alright. I think I got this one a little close too, but I'm just going to go with it. That's the big thing about doing the textures, is that when you go back to work on it to do your finishing stuff, sometimes you get messing around and you lose some of the texture, which was what you did to begin with. So the only thing that you could do to get around that would be do your texture last, and then you'd have to get little pieces of the texture mat, cut them up and get them in the cracks and all, and that gets to be annoying too. So I think this is the best way. Now if anybody has a better way and they want to kindly tell us about it, please leave it in the comments of the video, because we would all like to learn. This has been quite a little artistic journey for me so far. You know, I always loved to play with polymer clay, but Epoxy Sculpt, there are similarities and there are some that are distinctly different. And so there has been a little learning curve for me. Okay, I'll get a baby wipe and clean that up later, because I'm just keep using my texture. So there, I got a bunch more. You can get some back. You just have to be careful. You can't do it too many times. It's just muddled. Okay, so there you go. This is pretty much done, except for I would like to put some little twinkling chatons in there, and I don't have any down here. Plus, this is going to have to dry first, because I'll probably have to glue them in. So if you want to experiment and see if you can get them to stick in there without, but you would have to push this down in pretty far so that you would get enough of the Epoxy Sculpt coming up through the middle. And I just don't know if you can get enough to grab it quite yet. So I think I would not do that, and I would just wait, and I would just glue them in when it's dry. So that'll take, I would say 8-12 hours before you could do that, and then for a full cure, 24. So about this time tomorrow, which is maybe around 2 o'clock. About 2 o'clock tomorrow, then this would be like so done, and you could wear it. And you can even, if you want, if you feel like, oh, I need a little bit more of this accent in there, why, go for it. You can go ahead. You can still apply that. Just be careful now that you don't lose your texture. You know, that actually looks kind of good with a little bit more in there, because it's picking up that old gold color from the beads. And we do have these beads on the website. We have Mosaic Mix on the website. We have all these things. Everything I'm using here, we have at bsuboutiques.com. So I hope you come over and check us out. And if you're new to us and you've never bought anything from us before and you want to try us out, use code NEW2BSUE. All caps, no spaces. NEW2BSUE. Javi will put it in there for you. And you can use that, and you can get $5 off your first order of $35 or more. And we have free U.S. shipping at $50 beyond coupon use. So then, you know, you'd have to get a little bit more so it make up for your coupon. But at $50 after coupon use, you get free shipping. Yeah, that looks good. I'm liking that. Maybe a little bit more right here. A little bit. Okay. So that's my project for today. So all I can say to you is take it to the next level. Do the next best thing with it. Do something great with this. Come and join us at the BC Boutiques Creative Group at Facebook and share your creations with us. And before I leave, I'd like to remind you, please subscribe to my channel, so then that way you'll get notices of all the new things coming out. Usually we're here every Friday. Also, if you liked the video, I would appreciate a like. And if you have a kind comment to leave, I would love to hear from you. And I will respond. We always respond. So thank you so much. Go give it a try and have a great day.